Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Strip Search Comic Strip Podcast. We are back. It is summer. We've had some very hot days here in where we are in the Boston area. I am Pete Chianca, here as always with Dave London. How are you, Dave?
And good, Pete.
Keeping cool?
Trying to, yeah. We complain about the cold. Now we complain about the hot. So yeah,
Yeah, that's life in New England. That's what we
right,
do. There's no spring.
right.
Uh,
Well, there's 4 hours of spring. Spring is like an avocado. You hit that 4 hours where it's ripe,
right,
and
right. If you sleep through it, you're out of
yeah,
luck.
yeah.
And we are getting ready to attend a very important and special event, July 13th, the ALYAC Fest, which is a brand new kids comic fest in the
So
Metro
that
West
little
area.
lizard that sells insurance, that one,
Right. No, that's I was going to say Affleck, but
Aflac.
it's
Yeah,
Affleck.
right,
Yes.
right.
And it has nothing to do with Ben Affleck, although maybe he'll show up. He lives around here,
Eh,
probably likes comics. Who doesn't?
Right. Yeah, him and his buddy who do the Dunkin' Donuts commercials.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking to some of the organizers of that event right after our initial conversation here. But we want to let you know, you might call this, what would you call this, Dave? A shameless plug?
No, there's shame, full shame.
Yes, we're both ashamed. Um, it's like to paraphrase Larry David, we're both ashamed, but it has nothing to do with our plugging. Um, We have not one, but two new Pet Peeves books out right now, this second. You could go on Amazon and buy them. One is something brand new for us. It's a Pet Peeves coloring book, and the other is a second collection of our single panel cartoons. Yeah, Dave, we tell the folks a little bit about them.
Well, so the Pet Peeve singles, which is the offshoot of our strip Pet Peeves has the characters and their daily vignettes in the comic strip form. And you and I had started our own kind of New Yorker caption contest where I would draw an image and give it to you to come up with a few different captions, and we would pick the funniest and run it. And it was sort of just our own little humorous thing that we did, and then it became pretty popular. So we started publishing the strips as pet peeve singles and compiling them in books, and now we're on book two.
Yeah, I think, and it's funny when you go back and look, because we do these sort of very spur of the moment, I tend to forget about them. So when we look about it later, oh, these are kind of funny. We also realize that I sometimes come up with the same caption for different cartoons.
Yeah, I sometimes come up with like a drawing that works with the same caption, so it fits well.
It's really both of us. And what about the coloring book?
So we discovered as we go to these various comic cons and events, and even some of these kids comic events, the age range, the sort of the floor of the age range of kids who seem to be the market for our books, maybe that sort of third, fourth grade and up. And so there's a lot of kids who come to these events that are younger than that who really aren't a market. And we were thinking would be great to have something that we can offer to the super young crowd. And so the idea of a coloring book. Um, was generated, and we thought, from a very young age, a 1 or 2 year old up to kindergarten, first, second grader, kids going on trips during the summer, or just parents looking for something to do with the kids that's doesn't involve a video screen and you know Facebook or Apple. The idea came, hey, this is something we can offer so that kids who maybe can't read the jokes or aren't old enough to understand the humor still can get some enjoyment out of the characters. And we're going to offer. We have a coloring book, and we have crayons to go along with it, and hopefully, people will enjoy it.
Yeah, I think the coloring book is like the last great analog um, sort of activity for young kids. I feel like it's like you can do it anywhere. You don't need any sort of connection. Right. All you need are crayons. And there's also, we should mention, we've come up with some activities in the book. There are word searches. I find the difference in the two pictures. There are some connect the dots, right?
It it's a full-fledged activity. It's called a coloring book, but it is a full-fledged activity book, and it's the pages are single-sided. So if the kids or the adults want to use the blank side on the back to do their own drawings or what have you, they can do that as well. So really, it's an entertainment system, an analog entertainment system.
It is. It is. We should have put that on the cover. But and yeah, so you mentioned adults. I know adult coloring has become a thing, especially during the pandemic. I think when people were looking for ways to while away the hours, a lot of adults took up coloring. And now, if you go on Amazon and search adult coloring books, you see a ton of them. So yes, we would like. You didn't you compare it to Legos?
Right, right. So, this coloring book is all like Legos are for, 1 to 99-year-olds. So if you're over 100, don't come near our stuff because you're verboten. But up to
Right,
99,
up to
yes, just like
99.
Lego.
This works for you. So you can go to petpeevescomic.com, our website, to find out about those, or search Pet Peeves by London and Chianka on Amazon, and you will see these new books and our old books and can do what you will with them, or come out and see us in person. Your next opportunity will be July 13th at the Ashland Public Library, where we will have them all on hand. Did I get that right, Dave?
I think you got it absolutely right. We probably should introduce our guests for today's episode.
That's right. When we come back in less than 30 seconds, we will be talking to Meena Jain, Tony Davis, and Katrina Ireland-Bilodeau about what went into planning the ALYAC Fest in Ashland. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with that. Hello, everybody. We are back with Strip Search, the comic strip podcast. I am Pete Chianka here with Dave London, as always, and we are at our favorite portion of the show where we introduce our usually special guests. Today it's special guests, three of them. Today's topic, as we mentioned, is the very first Ashland Library Young Artist Comics Fest, also known as the ALYAC Fest, coming to the Ashland, Massachusetts Public Library on Sunday, July 13th. And here to talk about it are three people who are intimately involved with the creation and planning of this event. We have Meena Jain, past director of the Boston Kids Comics Fest and current director of the Ashland Public Library. We have Tony Davis, owner of the legendary Million Year Picnic comic book store in Harvard Square, a Black-run business that's one of the oldest comic book stores in the country, and he is also co-founder of the Boston Kids Comic Fest. And Katrina Ireland-Bilodeau, Director of Youth Services, Assistant Director of the Ashland Public Library, and we are told a huge fan of comic books and kids. So a perfect combination. So welcome all of you to the Strip Search podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for having
It's
us.
wonderful to be here.
So let's just jump in. Meena, why don't we start with you? So this is a brand new event. We had mentioned the Boston Kids Comic Fest, which is actually not happening this year, which is sad because we all love it. But did that sort of play into the impetus for this event, sort of fill that hole? How did this come together?
So, interestingly, a few months ago, our children's department, Katrina and her team, were talking about doing a comic book festival as part of summer reading this year. And I, of course, jumped right in and I was like, all right, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it a little bit differently because I don't know, I'm a little bit of a control freak. Anyways, having had the experience with the Boston Kids Comics Fest, the one aspect of it that I personally, and I know a lot of people really loved, was the young artist table. And we thought this would be the perfect opportunity to use that aspect of the Boston Kids Comics Fest at a local event that celebrates books and libraries and children and all of that. So, Katrina can talk a little bit more about what her team was thinking, but that was the sort of origin of it. And then, asking Tony and the Boston Kids Comics Fest and BCAF, the Boston Comics Arts Foundation, to support this process has been really wonderful.
So let's jump into with Tony. If I can ask you, so you've been involved in a lot of kids comic fests. So why do you think fests geared towards children are important? In particular, having this one aimed at young artists in specifically.
Well, I think you do two things. You're connecting the creative community to their core audience, young readers, but you're blending that. You're also having sort of a passing of the torch where the creative community is coming out and doing workshops and helping kids who love comics not only to consume comics, to read comics, but to create comics. And I think that was one of the things about the model of the Kids Comics Fest that I really loved, which was the abundance of workshops, the kids actually coming with material already prepared and tabling and learning to essentially sell and be sort of a professional cartoonist for a day. So, it's a chance really to celebrate comics on many different levels. And judging from the growth of the Kids Comics Fest, its first several years, I think that there are sort of untapped legions of children that we still need to reach. And I think doing these kinds of events, not just centralized at the Kids Fest in Boston, but at places like the library in Ashland, will be a good way to reach a number of kids that have not experienced one of these festivals before.
And since I've got you on the hot seat, Tony, let me just ask you, as a owner of one of the greatest comic book stores in the country, how have you found kids' tastes have changed, or what comics they're reading now versus in the past? Have you seen a change?
Well, it's been a huge change, and what's really changed is that the publishing side has created for us a wall of graphic novels aimed at younger readers. And the publishing side has also imported a fair amount of manga from Japan, which I think speaks to younger readers, from One Piece to Naruto to even some of the things that are probably for slightly older readers, the Demon Slayers, the Death Notes. And so 25, 30 years ago, we were mostly just selling superhero comics to an audience that was probably about 10 to 15, maybe 8 to 15 years old, and predominantly male. And I feel like today we are selling uh, just a plethora of graphic novels to a much more diverse audience, from like 6 all the way up through older teens. And I think it's because there are more books out there, way more books out there now that speak to the particular interests of children, whether it's surviving school, middle school, high school, whether it's the first blush of like interpersonal relationships, whether it's sports, whether it's mystery, whether it's fantasy, whether it's science fiction. There's a wealth of stuff way beyond just sort of the narrow world of Superman and Spider-Man.
That's great.
And in fact, I don't see as many kids coming in looking for that. It's not just a new the taste, I think, has really changed amongst kids.
Right. It's 50-year-old guys like me that are coming in looking for Spider-Man, probably.
Which is why a lot of times now superhero comics are actually written in a more adult manner. The audience has just changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I just throw in there too, is that in the last, I would say 10 years, librarians and teachers have adopted comics in the classroom and in the libraries much more. So children are more exposed to them and it's more accepted as a learning tool as well as a pleasure reading tool.
That's great. Now, Katrina, it sounds like you were really involved in some of the nitty-gritty of what's going to be happening on the 13th. Do you think you could talk a little bit about what people can expect when they walk in the door there?
Oh my gosh. Well, actually, it's really Meena who's been the powerhouse in putting this. We've definitely lent on her expertise for a lot of this. I'm chagrined to say that I have never been to an event like this before. This will be my first. So I am very, very excited. As upon entering the door, as far as I'm aware, we're going to feature our young artists. So we're going to have kids and teens manning the tables as soon as you enter the library, who are going to be selling their wares and, looking at everybody with their adorable puppy dog eyes saying, please have my comics. Further on, we'll have, of course, the booksellers, a couple of booksellers there that are going to be supporting the headliners. And we're so excited to have our our comic book artists. We've got Jared Krasaska and John Patrick Green, Debbie Dady, and a number of other artists who are going to be there running workshops for the children and attendees. So.
So Katrina, let me just ask you something that you touched on. So something that I think makes this particularly unique, you said that some of the kids will be selling their wares, presumably books and other things. Now, we've all, or I guess except for Katrina, who hasn't been at a fest yet, but I think we're all familiar with sort of, going to a fest and seeing folks selling books and so on. Can you talk a little bit more about the fact that now we've got, or you will have the kids selling it and what went into that and what you can expect? Because that is kind of something very, I think, unique to this particular event.
Yeah, so we've really taken a lot of time to reach out to young artists in Massachusetts and Ashland, but beyond the community lines, if you will. And we've got somebody who is vetting work and encouraging kids to create their own graphic novels and comics, to print them and make multiple copies, and then they'll be able to sit at the tables in the library and sell their creations to the public. So it's really an opportunity for them to grow their own artistic skill and then get that sort of pat on the back of, okay, what I have to say and what I have to create is really worth something. Like, these people see the value in it and want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and I know, like Meena had mentioned at the Boston Kids Fest, that was always one of my favorite parts, just going and seeing what the kids had put together, and and when you hand them over like cold hard cash, it's an exciting moment. It's an exciting moment for them. Beats mowing lawns when it's 100 degrees. What else? What else do you need to tell us about this? We should mention, like, Ashland, people might not be familiar with Ashland, but it's actually very accessible. It's not some far off burg. It's right off the pike, right?
Yep.
Very easy to find.
Oops, sorry, my lights went out. Just really quickly, I wanted to say a few other things that we're doing. Well, obviously, it's free to the public. Nobody has to pay to walk in the door. If they want to buy stuff, of course, that's on them, but I hope they do. And then it's also free parking. We have plentiful parking right across the street from the library, which is wonderful. There's a train station that is about a 20-minute walk from here for people who are very dedicated to getting here. But also we have things like, we're going to have ASL, American Sign Language interpreters, for the first 4 hours from 10:30 to 2:30 to be here for the draw off with John Patrick Green and for Jared Krasaska's, what is it called? Keynote address. So we've been reaching out to deaf schools and hard of hearing schools to make sure that those children can not only attend, but even table if they wanted to. We have food trucks that are going to be here because kids get hungry, and they are. Tony's laughing because he knows that I also get hungry.
Right.
I was going to say adults also get hungry.
So with that, but we also have gotten wonderful donations from Auto Pizza for food for all of our headliners and workshop leaders and volunteers. And we've got, we've just got various donations from people to make sure that this is just the best week it can be. So it's been an amazing community building event as well.
That's great. Well, we would absolutely. Dave and I are also going to be there. We wouldn't miss it, and we'd really encourage people to come out. I do think, like Tony was saying, the more these can sort of spread out, it's great to have them in Boston, but it's also great if we could, spread out into the neighborhoods and into the more suburban areas where, not every family has the wherewithal to get into town, and to have something closer, I think is just makes a huge difference. As someone who has in the past had little kids that you really needed a lot of keeping busy on the weekends, we're always looking for something, and this is just perfect. Particularly, I assume there's some air conditioning in there. Should it be a day like we're experiencing right now, a little earlier in July? Yeah. We actually have been very fortunate because of the way that Boston Kids Comics Fest has run in the past, that we know that things for younger kids
as well. So like we have a quiet drawing area, and we also have CommerCon coming to have a space for children who might need a little break from all the chaos and the and the noise. So I think the Boston Kids Comics Fest has really informed us in what is helpful and inclusive for children of all backgrounds and interests and abilities. So I'm really excited about that we had that information in order to make this, like I said, as inclusive as possible.
Well, I'd like to say that, the Boston Kids Comics Fest has developed all of this expertise in large part because Meena did an amazing job as director for all of our fests. And I also want to give it a little shout out. We talked about booksellers being there, and not only will we be there, but I want to tip the hat to Tim Finn and HubCon Somerville, because Tim has been an amazing supporter of all of the local festivals. And it'll be good to join up with him on that day to sell some graphic novels to some eager kids.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And we're also going to have a table for BCAF, the Boston Comics Arts Foundation, who have been not just, helping us with the budget and things like that, but physically helping us with every aspect. Gina Gagliano just helped us with a press release. Shelley is going to be manning or helping us man tables for the older teens. Shelley Paroline. So like BCAP has been really super helpful. But I did want to add the workshops, because I know Pete and Dave, you're doing one. I think on like the basics of comics, like just creating your first comic. But we also have, as Katrina mentioned, Debbie Dady and Anjali Rafer, who have done the Bailey School Kids. The graphic novels are adorable. If you want a vampire and pizza, got to do it, right? There's Janie Ho, who does the Fry Guy comics, and she has one coming out in the fall about vampire cats, I believe. So, like this, it's just adorableness all over. And then Mark Parisi, who does Marty Pants, is always a draw. Everybody loves Marty Pants. And Cara Bean, who did all of our graphics, is just wonderful. And she does that mindful doodling, which I think a lot of kids really need, to think about how they use art to be more mindful. So we have this wide range of workshops coming up, but we also have a bunch of superheroes coming, talk about superheroes for us 50-year-olds and up. They're going to be doing a workshop with kids, a panel basically answering their questions in character. So we've had them before, and they do a fabulous job. So like this whole range of things for every interest. It's really geared towards kids 8 and up, but we'll have things for younger kids. I know Katrina's team has been doing some work with younger kids to make their own comics, and we'll have a little exhibit of their art that they've been doing throughout the year.
I can't wait to hear what some of those questions are for the costume superheroes. It's fun.
It usually has something to do with if they wear underwear, but we'll see.
Makes sense. Yeah, that would be my first question, probably.
So lots of great plugs for the events, but let's just, for our listeners, give where people can find more information online. We'll also plug this on our Pet Peeves website as well, but just while people are listening, if you can just give the different social media.
Okay, so yeah, if you follow Ashland Public Library on Facebook or Instagram, make sure it's Massachusetts, because there are 17 Ashland libraries in the US. So Ashland Public Library MA, and we're both on Facebook and Instagram. I know that you can go to our website calendar and find it there, and you can also go to the BCAF calendar or our website and find information there and register as well. So we are asking for registration just so we have a sense of if people are going to show up. But people are also welcome to walk in, as we know that kids, might decide on the day of that they have to do this thing. So everybody is welcome.
And are you still accepting applications from young artists should they want to table there?
Yep, right up until next Tuesday, July 1st. But also, if somebody slips in afterwards, we're happy to accommodate it, because the great thing about being in the library here is that we can just add more tables. So nobody's going to get turned away unless for some reason their art is not really geared towards children, but that's the only like real barrier for a child to sell their stuff here.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we don't want to, we know you guys have a lot of work to do to get ready for this, so we don't want to keep you for too long, but we really appreciate you coming out and telling everybody, and we'd encourage our listeners and readers to head over there. As I mentioned, it's very accessible, worth it. If you even have to drive a little bit, it's definitely worth it. To get the kids out on a hot weekend for some really fun, creative indoor activity. And even if they're not necessarily diehard comics fans, maybe they will be by the time they leave. So it's worth checking out. And everybody else, we will be back with another episode of Strip Search, the comic strip podcast, next month. But in the meantime, Meena, Tony, and Katrina, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Once again, thanks for having us.
Yes, it was a pleasure.
Ours as well. All right, everybody, we will see you next month. Take care.